Benjamin Day.
And this is Medicare for All, the podcast for everyone, and I mean everyone who needs health care. So, as you know, this podcast is a project of Healthcare Now. And I know you might know me as one of the hosts of your favorite podcast, but I'm also the executive director of Healthcare Now. And so it's shocking, I know, to know that this podcast doesn't provide me with a sustainable living. But so at Healthcare Now, we're used to getting like pushback from folks who don't believe in Medicare for all. And we always expect to hear from them. But this episode is about something different. When we announced our annual National Medicare for All Strategy Conference is happening this November, we got some pushback, and it was not about the fight for healthcare justice, but our choice of venue. So some of our supporters were upset that we're going to be gathering in a red state. Okay, arguably the king of the red states, which is Florida. Bum, bum, bum. We've gotten emails from folks who won't attend on principle because they refuse to go to, and this is a quote, the evil DeSantis state. So today we're joined by one of the leaders of Medicare for All Florida to dig into what's happening in Florida, why we're heading to the Sunshine State for our conference, and most importantly, to give you some information about how you can join us this November 22nd and 23rd to bring the fight to Red America. Angie, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Well, I definitely, we're recording this on a Friday afternoon, so I appreciate everyone. You're certainly exhausted from the week, but if I can just ask you a few questions. So, Angie, how did you end up in Florida, and how did you end up working on Medicare for All?
My family's from New Orleans, and we moved here when I was 5, so I've been here a long time. My dad worked in for a diving company, so it was the Gulf of Mexico, we still call it Gulf of Mexico here.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah. He worked in the oil fields, basically, in the Gulf of Mexico, and the oil dried up, and so everyone lost their jobs. And so he got a job doing a diving related thing in Florida. And so that's why I'm here.
All right. And how did you end up working on Medicare for All and getting hooked up with the folks at Medicare for All Florida?
I got an email that was, I want to say it was through Public Citizen, but I'm not positive. And they were looking for people to start up a Medicare for All organization in Florida. And there was a form, I filled it out, and, it was, in the COVID times, and I was working from home, and I was looking for some way to get involved without catching my death out there. So, so that's how I got involved. And so, we started as a organizing committee in 2021, and then we became a nonprofit in 2022, I believe.
That's awesome. Yeah, fantastic. So, it's really great. And I want to give a shout out also to Stefan Romdor, who is one of our folks who helped to build that chapter as well, and has really helped out with this conference too. So
he's a badass.
Yes, he comes from the south of Germany. No, actually, I don't even think he's from the south of Germany. But
I don't think so either.
Excellent.
So what do you, Angie, I'm curious, when you hear about that pushback from folks that they don't want to travel to a red state, it's been tainted by DeSantis. I don't know. What do you think when you hear someone say, describe your state as the evil DeSantis state? And, are DeSantis and his pals really kind of representative of your friends and your neighbors, your community in Florida?
I would say no, that they're not. I would say roughly half or more of us have not voted that way. I don't know. I kind of understand where they're coming from if they don't want to come here, but it's also slightly offensive. We're normal people down here. I know the Florida man is well known, but we're really just regular people who go to work and want to go to the doctor, and we don't espouse any of the the problematic stuff for the most part. So, yeah, it's kind of a bummer that people don't even want to set foot in our very nice state. It is very nice. We have nice weather, we have nice nature, nice people. So,
No, it's beautiful. It's like most of the South. It's worth fighting for, right?
Who among us hasn't been Florida man at least once or twice in our lives?
Amen.
Even well outside of Florida.
I can tell you some stories. Most of them about Ben, actually. But yeah, I mean, I think that like one of the things that people always get wrong, and this is coming from someone living in Texas, which our regular listeners will know that I do, also on the Gulf of Mexico. And I think that one of the things that people get wrong is assuming that our state governments actually represent us and who we are, right? Like, and we know that this is actually not true, right? So like in Florida, there are like over 4 million registered Democratic voters, and there are about 5.5 million registered Republicans. And that's a really different picture. That's a difference of 1.5 million, but it is a different picture from the kind of complete, total 100% red that I think the rest of the country is imagining. And then, of course, we also have to think about how these red states got so red.
Right.
Yeah.
And my understanding is that of those 4 million registered Democrats, 99% are people who retired from Massachusetts and moved to Florida.
I vouch for that. They're here.
You definitely have a solid presence down there for sure. Yeah, but there are also plenty of regular Floridians who just want some damn health care. And we know that like the reason for this disparity, right, between like, you know, the number of Democrats and the extent to which Democrats are actually represented in Florida, like it obviously comes down to gerrymandering, which is an issue that hits close to home in Texas right now. And, you know, Texas, like Florida, viewed as a deep red state, right? And we have primarily Republican representation here. But when you look at our numbers, right, there's totally different story. And we can see that the Republicans here are still clinging for more and more of that representation. So, you know, we already, again, had like a Republican governor, et cetera, and they additionally redistricted to give another 5 Republican seats, despite large protests and pushback from regular people and also from our legislature, which you might have heard fled the state in order to delay the vote on that, which is a fun tactic. We should talk about that at some point on the podcast. So yeah, I mean, honestly, this is something that like is just like has been getting my goat for a long time. So I'm really glad that we're able to like talk about this and talk about, you know, how we kind of are thinking about folks in the South. And I think one other thing that I just really wanted to mention, right, is that this gerrymandering project is all about race, right? Southern states have the highest concentrations of Black populations, large Black communities, and gerrymandering has always been the ticket for disenfranchising them. And so when we leave red states behind, right, one of the things that we're doing is leaving these huge communities of people of color behind as well. So I think that's something we want to touch on for sure. But Angie, back to you. When I think about red states, I'm always thinking about the vast numbers of people who are being held hostage by Republican governments and how those folks are engaging in a daily resistance. So can you talk a little bit about what Medicare for All Florida is working on and how y'all are resisting this, you know, kind of hyper corporate Republican vision of healthcare?
Yes. So we have a lot of things going on pretty much all the time. So we do every month on the 3rd Wednesday, we do a statewide meeting like on Zoom. And Jillian's going to be our one of our guests this coming Wednesday. So
Hey.
yeah, so you tune in for that. And so yeah, we do that. We have guest speakers, and it's an opportunity to talk about healthcare issues and plan, you know, our different initiatives. So we do that every month. We've done a virtual town hall every year that we've been an organization, and we have a keynote speaker that's a U.S. House of Representatives person from Florida. So the first year we had Representative Frederica Wilson. And the next year we had Maxwell Frost. And then we had this year and last year, Sheila Scherfless McCormick was our speaker. So we at least have a handful of Democrats who are supportive of Medicare for All in Florida. So we
absolutely
go out of our way to support them.
And y'all have been working on like a lot of other different kind of programs too, right? Like a state-based single payer plan and a number of other different healthcare initiatives, right?
Right. Yep. We actually wrote and got through I don't know the proper names for it, but all the bureaucracy of the bill stuff in Tallahassee. So we got, I want to say 3 bills through, one to cap the insulin at $25 a month, one to do like a universal healthcare for Florida like study, and the others are escaping me right now, but we had a few, and then we meet with national politicians, their offices. We've had meetings with Jayapal's office, and we're always putting pressure on our local, our Florida people to try to make them change their minds. Of course, we have the problems with the conservatives in Florida, but a lot of the Democratic leadership also is against Medicare for All. So we have that to deal with.
Y'all are really, really lucky to have so many. For Democratic delegation, it's really a lot of folks who actually support Medicare for All. I think probably seeing in Florida really how terribly, that state has been affected, right, by the healthcare crisis.
Right. Yeah. I mean, as I know, you'll know, we don't have the Medicaid expansion even. Right. So it's pretty dire. You really have to have no money at all to get any help here.
By the way, I wanted to mention that at the conference, unfortunately, Maxwell Frost can't be there, but he is going to be giving us a welcome video. And I love Maxwell Frost so much. So at the introduction of one of the Medicare for All federal bills, he said, "To all my constituents, I sign on to Medicare for All because I love you. And when you love somebody, you want them to be healthy."
Oh, we love you too.
We love you so much. Oh my God. I love that though. That's so great. It's true. Love is caring for people and their health and making sure they stay alive and stuff, Yeah. Long story short, y'all have a pretty solid movement going on for healthcare justice, and you're actually gaining traction, which is, I think, that's something that people will be really surprised by, that you've actually managed to get these bills passed, and you're working towards a more just Florida. Yeah.
Yeah, I think if you take the national picture on Medicare for All, the Medicare for All movement can't control whether Democrats or Republicans holds Congress. That's involves many, many other issues. We're like a little piece of the pie, but not much of it probably. I think probably the biggest task of the Medicare for All movement is to push the entire Democratic Party into the Medicare for All camp, so that when there is a window, Democrats and third parties, whatever. And that is a task that is not isolated to northern or liberal states, because so much of the Democratic delegation is rooted in the South, is based in the South. So I think it is an equally, the notion that just because we hate DeSantis, we would stay out of Florida or like not see Florida as like a key battleground for the Medicare for All movement that's problematic. So. Or Texas, for that matter.
Sure.
How many Texas Democrats are not on the bill yet?
Yeah. Good question. Got to do that research. We actually just got a congressional candidate who's coming to town just this week, and his top priority he identified as Medicare for all.
Oh wow! Okay.
That's how bad it's gotten here. Yeah. Gotta love it in the South.
Yeah, and I have for everyone who lived through the last Bernie Sanders primary campaign, I have a conspiracy theory about why well, it's not a conspiracy theory. It's a crazy or probably a bad theory about why he did not win.
Call it a conspiracy theory. It'll get more traction that way.
Okay, yes. Okay, we're going to build our base this way. So, I mean, it's no secret that his campaign kind of floundered when it hit the South, couldn't make it through North Carolina, and he just didn't have the same base in the South. And I think that he kind of built his campaign on top of existing social movements, Medicare for all, but also many other movements like the left of the labor movement, anti-war movement. And, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like Southern states don't have the same social justice infrastructure that many like Northern states do. There's not a lot of union density. There's not like a lot of money poured into grassroots progressive organizations. And so it has to be done like a little bit more by real regular people. And I think the more traditional institutions matter a little bit more in those contexts. And I think that's where you can't just kind of build a national campaign within these movements that are just kind of, in these social justice dense areas of the country. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that has to do with a lot of things too. I mean, from like union busting in the South, and also the way that's been motivated by race, and and also the kind of bias of foundation people who are the people who actually fund nonprofits. Right? There's a lot of that feeling that like we want to be in a place where people are moving things, and that
they want to fund deliverables where they're going to get a short-term win, right? So much easier to get. Yeah, send shivers down your spine. If you've ever done fundraising for a nonprofit, it's
when Ben, I mean, I wasn't actually going to even talk about this, but when you are talking to folks, what do you hear in Boston about the Southern states when you talk to your Boston activist buddies?
Well, I don't have that many activist buddies, but when you started off introducing the episode and you were talking about the kind of reaction you got, I thought immediately of my parents. I don't know why, but my parents both great people, good politics and everything. But during this time of Trump, they spend like all of their time just in a state of panic and disgust, like kind of liberal disgust. And they're like, can you believe they did this shit? Can you believe they did that shit? They're really angry and pissed off. And I could see them saying the same thing, like, oh, Florida, look at what they're doing down there. It's kind of like I don't know. I don't know how to characterize this mind frame that a lot of like liberals have gotten themselves into. But it's like where you carry over your panic and disgust around what's happening in national politics to like all of the states where their leadership of those changes are coming from, So I could see those words coming out of the mouth of people who I like and love, and I generally agree with their opinions. But it is something that a weird transformation where like the ideological divide of the country has now made it so that like people don't even want to come near someone who's on the opposite side of their divide, and it even happens within states. It's like you don't want to go to the conservative parts of the state, like it's like God knows what might happen there.
Western Massachusetts is not that different from Florida. I'm just gonna put that out there.
North Shore, South Shore, it is like Fall River, New Bedford, and so no. And again, Massachusetts is like we have the least divide probably internally of any state, but it still happens here. So yeah, I don't know how to put my finger on it, but I think it is it's problematic, but it seems to be coming from this place of like constant political anxiety and like angst about the future of the country, you know?
Yeah.
Projected.
Which is legit, like
Yeah,
totally
yes.
legit. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. But perhaps directed towards some of the wrong people.
Yes, I think so.
Some of the wrong people.
Yes.
Excellent.
Yeah, and I think it's also just that like there's an image of the South, if you live not in the South, that is it's just kind of fucked up, especially people who have never been there or or don't have deep ties there, you know. And it's just kind of inaccurate, right? They think that it's like when you look at Texas and you're like, well, every single statewide office is held by like a totally right-wing lunatic. You're like, surely every year they're being elected by people in Texas who are just insane. And they leave the gerrymandering part and so.
The part where in Corpus Christi we literally had 2 socialists on our city council.
Right.
We're down to 1, but yes.
Yeah, and gerrymandering is like the very tip of the iceberg, right? I mean, there's a whole range of voter suppression things that go on that are broader than gerrymandering too. So
totally true. Totally true. Yeah. Yeah.
They get real creative with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember reading in the newspaper, I don't remember which election it was, but they put a polling place inside of like a gated community.
Yeah, nice.
Great.
So, if you didn't live there, you didn't get to vote.
Wow.
Was it that? Isn't there the huge like retirement community in Florida that everyone talks about?
Yes,
Was that the one?
No, it was like somewhere down south. But,
okay, I got you. So I guess let's talk about solidarity across states. I mean, we need to kind of get over this this worldview. Do you feel like it's kind of important for like us Yankees to stand in solidarity with the South during these days?
Yeah, definitely. You know, yeah, it's especially like during like the height of the pandemic. I mean, it was heartbreaking to see how. I mean, it was bad everywhere, of course, but you know,
Sure.
it's like, is my life not worth as much as a New Yorker's? You know, like can I get some protections around here? Can I get a vaccine, please? You know.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's you know, it would be really help the solidarity from other places because you know, I swear we're normal here. I swear we're regular people.
I mean, I don't know. I've talked to you before. Angie. I don't know if I want to go that far. Normal people aren't really our demographic.
But yeah, we're definitely deserving of you know, prescriptions and you know, tests, medicine, doctor's visits, like people who live in nicer places, you know, with state income tax and you know, infrastructure and what have you. So.
Yeah. Like who's fighting for us? You know, but well, we're fighting for us. We know that, but also, you know, who else gives a shit about us? Yeah. So, I mean, I think like also it's worth mentioning, and you know, Ben and I, having worked for Healthcare Now, you know, we know about something about the history of our organization, and that's one of the reasons that it's so important for us, right? Ben, do you want to talk a little bit about Marilyn and how she founded Healthcare Now?
Sure, yeah, and I only met her briefly. We overlapped a tiny bit at kind of the beginning of my time in the Medicare for All movement, and before she passed away. But the founder of Healthcare Now is Marilyn Clement. She was involved with the Methodist Church, and she was kind of came out of the civil rights movement and decided that Medicare for All was how she wanted to kind of the next fight she wanted to take on. And yes, she did come out of the South and So that's kind of a lot of the roots of healthcare now are folks who came out of the civil rights movement, and especially there was like a medical wing of the civil rights movement of like doctors and nurses and social workers and practitioners who wanted to provide solidarity to the civil rights movement, and a lot of them kind of took that into the pushing for Medicare for all next. So that's really where our origins are. Yeah.
I feel like we owe it to folks like that who literally risk their lives, to do this work. And just remembering the things that Marilyn said about just about like bringing the message of justice to places where injustice lives, right? You actually have to go down, you have to talk to people, and we have to have these hard conversations, Yeah.
And winning social movements in the United States generally come out of the South or are heavily rooted in the South. So I think there's like a lesson to be learned there from the movements that have won, and we do have a problem. I mean, when you look at the kind of the map of where we have Medicare for all supporters in Congress, they tend to represent densely urban districts, not all in the North, but disproportionately in along the coasts and in the Northeast corridor there. So I think the geographic limits of the movement are the main thing that's holding us back from winning. So
yeah, we need to win the South if we're going to win this all together, for sure. Absolutely. Yeah.
And I guess another question I should ask, maybe I'll ask this to both you, Angie, and Jillian. I know that obviously liberal disgust about Florida, I think, is not a good reason not to support the South, not a good reason not to join this conference. But I know that some people probably have trepidation traveling to certain states just because they might be worried about discrimination against trans folks or LGBTQ folks. They might be worried about, just real safety issues. Obviously, the new legislation in Florida around vaccines. How would you all respond to folks who have that kind of category of concerns? Not so much that they don't want to rub shoulders with red staters,
Yeah, absolutely. That is 100% legit, for sure. Angie, I mean, you work with folks who are immigrants and people, on all levels of the LGBTQ spectrum, right? Mm-hmm. So we can expect to see some of those folks at the conference, for sure.
Sure.
How do you feel about, kind of how, our progressive movement in general is kind of like coming together to protect those folks in Florida?
It's like everything else where it's really like a do-it-yourself effort of, we're taking care of ourselves, we're protecting ourselves, we're keeping each other safe. And it's true. It's a very diverse state, really, in terms of race and gender identity and all of that. So, it's not like if you come here and you're trans or you're undocumented that you're going to be the only one, So it's normal here, like everywhere, so, it's 100% valid to be concerned about it. But, to my knowledge, we don't have any, like trans bathroom type of laws. It's really more people are targeted in their professions right now, down here. Like if you wanted to be a teacher here, I would recommend maybe you be a teacher somewhere else.
Sure. Yeah.
Conference, I think everybody's going to be okay, and and we're planning on being COVID safe too, to the degree that people want to wear masks. I'm going to wear a mask except for maybe when I'm presenting. So there's solidarity there too.
Totally. Yeah, we, obviously, I think these are the legitimate fears about going to a red state. Like, totally cannot fault you if you're worried about being gay or trans or being an immigrant in a state like Florida or Texas or Alabama or Louisiana or frankly Massachusetts for fuck's
or
sake.
Washington D.C.
Or Washington D.C.
Yes.
So obviously we cannot guarantee your safety, but I can tell you that you will be among friends in a community of people who support you. Obviously, we would never let ICE into our space without a warrant, and you will be surrounded by people who respect you for who you are. So that for folks who are really anxious on the basis of like identity and race and ethnicity, right? Again, we're going to do the best we can, right, to take care of you and make sure that you have a good experience. And then I would say the vaccine issue also a real concern, right? Just last week, Florida announced that they're not going to be doing any more vaccine mandates for anything, which caused me to scream at my computer screen, like just a torrent of obscenities for like 10 minutes. So like, why the fuck now? Why the fuck now? Anyway, that being said, like Angie said, we are monitoring the situation. We're encouraging folks to take whatever precautions they can. And we as a group will make some collective decisions getting closer to the date. If we see spikes in COVID or flu in the wastewater or in cases coming up, then we will definitely make a decision collectively about how we can best protect ourselves, whether that's, all of us wearing masks or, what we want to do about that. So we have an eye on that. So if you have a legit safety concern, please feel free to contact me and I'd love to talk you through it.
There might be an outbreak of partying. Just saying.
Maybe barbecue too.
Yes. Uh-huh.
There will be a cookout.
Contagious good times.
There will be a cookout, but as a Texan, I cannot call it a barbecue because it's cooking on a grill and not an indirect smoke, an indirect heat. That being said, we're going to be taking all the precautions, but if you do meet someone there that you decide you want to make out with, take off your mask to do that. I just can't be responsible. Yeah, no, I take no responsibility for that.
Yeah.
Although everyone there is going to be cool and hot. I can promise you that. So in addition to getting to meet cool, hot people like Angie and her fellow healthcare justice fighters at Medicare for All Florida, you would have opportunities at this conference to meet activists from across the country who are passionate about making healthcare right. And you'd have a chance to learn new strategies for bringing healthcare justice back to wherever you live. So if that sounds awesome, please join us at our conference. Our theme this year is the healthcare resistance, and we're going to be building up to some really big things in 2026, both nationally and in states all over the country. So just a reminder that the National Medicare for All Conference is happening in Rockledge, Florida, which is right by beautiful Cocoa Beach. It's going to be happening on November 22nd and 23rd. And you can find out more about the conference and get registered at www.healthcare-now.org/conference. And I have, for those of you who are watching now, that's the URL that is right up there on your screen. So...
And it's exciting. It's back in person after 4 or 5 years or something of going fully virtual.
It's true.
Yeah, we really lost something there. I mean, when we switched to fully virtual, before that, it was always in-person conferences. And, we would try to have amazing content. We'd teach you organizing strategies and talk about messaging and stuff like that. But the thing that people really took away from it was more relationship building and really getting to chat with someone and pick their brain about what's going on in another state, what they're doing that's working, that's not working. And we kind of lost that, those informal networking and discussions, which were just so valuable for movement building. So I'm psyched that it's coming back in person again. So
Yeah. Honestly, they had to drag me kicking and screaming because I'm become so comfortable in the digital world. But I'm going to be there IRL in person, shaking hands or not, depending on the situation.
This is basically your only chance to ever meet Jillian, possibly ever. So jump on it.
My house
Yes.
one night only. Yes, excellent. So please come down and meet us. We'd love to talk to you. I also just want to thank Angie. Thank you so much for joining us today. This was super fun to talk to you.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me.
And I also want to thank our podcast team. Our researcher for today's episode was Ashley Schultz, and our audio editor is Craig Stanton. You need to remember to like, subscribe, comment, and share with your friends. This podcast is a project of Healthcare Now Education Fund. You can support the pod by going to www.healthcare-now.org and click on the donate tab to send us some love. All right, folks, signing out.
We'll talk to you all next time. Bye.
All right, everyone, stay safe and stay dangerous.